still got yours.
Take your standing spots. All right, I'm going to turn it over real quick to the folks from the dairy market just to give some kind of housekeeping stuff, and then we'll get started.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Eleanor Von Aiken. I'm the general manager of Dairy Market at Old Trinity Church. This really warms my heart. When we renovated this building, this is exactly what we had in mind. We love being able to have community events like this. And so many of you here for this first one that we've been able to do in this building since acquiring it really does really warm my heart. So thank you all for coming. There are bathrooms in this building. Right past our director of sales here, Anna. Through that hall, there's 2 bathrooms. Those of you who can stand, please make sure that you are giving your seat to someone who might be in need of one. We do have a couple more chairs coming, but we did want to make sure that we were able to get as many people as possible in today. So yeah, I'm going to turn it over to our new chief. We're very excited to have you all here. Please let me know if there's anything else we can do during the meeting or after the meeting.
Okay, well, first of all, welcome. There's a few people I just want to go ahead and acknowledge real quick. First of all, I said the dairy market. We put this together in 3 days, which is pretty impressive. And so kind of how this came about, and another group I want to thank is the 10th and Page community group. I was speaking to one of their board members last week after the recent homicide, and they had made mention that it would be good for me to come and speak to their organization. I think it was my fault because initially it said, well, there's usually about 15 people that show up. Well, here we are. So, but I just want to say, like you said, this does warm your heart because there's a lot of people here, which tells me this community cares about what's going on, and that's important. So we're going to talk about some things, and then I'm just going to talk for a little bit, and I'm going to turn this over to you all so I can hear you, okay? There's a few special guests I do want to go ahead and acknowledge here today. We have several counselors here. I see Dr. Gurley from schools, Counselor Pinkston. I'm sure I'm going to miss some folks. Mayor, right there, Mayor Snook. I do want to acknowledge, who else is that? Yes, new counselor is here. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Our Commonwealth Attorney, Joe Patania, is here. Joe, thank you for being here. And Chief Longo and Chief Reeves are also here, 2 of my partners that I've been working very closely with. So, and if I missed anyone, I do apologize, but I know there's a lot of people in the room here. So I just want to say thank you. I want to go over the format just quickly. We're going to have a quick update where I tell you kind of what we're seeing, some numbers, and then I'm going to go over what we're doing in the short term, and then what we're doing in the long term, kind of our vision moving forward. And then I want to hear from you all. Now, when you stand up and you come and talk on the microphone here, we're going to have to limit it to 3 minutes. So we'll be keeping time, kind of like a council meeting where you have a set amount of time, and I'll answer your questions. We are going to have a hard stop at 8 p.m. We have 2 hours. We're going to have a hard stop at 8 p.m. just because that's how long we have it.
Chief, you got a lot of people standing out here in the rain who can't hear what you're saying, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you guys want, we can move forward just a little bit. We got 2 other seats right here. Please come on up. We have plenty of space right up here up front. If you can stand as well. We want to try to get as many as we can here. We can hold about 100. For the fire department shows up. Please come on in. Let's be close.
Come on close.
I live on Anderson Street.
Mike, nice to meet you, sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir. No, close. I bet it's close. Yes. Is that better?
Thank you, Chief.
Awesome. Also, I did just have a question if there was another exit in the building. There is one through the back.
You said you got a lot of people coming up and everyone's getting bottlenecked.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, let's get a little cozy. We're a nice little community, right? Yeah. Get to know each other a little bit. Awesome, perfect.
Okay, so we are here to talk about gun violence and what we're seeing. So I'm just going to give you a number real quick. We are averaging one shooting call for service a day. We've had 30 in the last 30 days. Now that's raw data. That's when someone calls and says they hear a gunshot and we respond. Now sometimes we either find something or we don't find something. But that's just raw data. So I just want to be clear. We've had three murders in about 6 weeks. 3 murders in 6 weeks. Last week, the homicide that occurred over on Page Street, the school bus, kids getting off the school bus had to be diverted while somebody was laying in the street. I understand that. I was there. My officers understand that. We get the stakes. And that's why this room is packed tonight. People care. And we're going to do something about it, but we can't do it on our own. We have to work with this community to come up with some solutions. And the issues are complex. When I first got here, about the first week, we started doing community walks. And some of the things that I heard, knocking on doors, and we've been doing them every week, I'm hearing from residents that they're sick of it. That they're sick of bullets going through their home. That they're sick of not letting their grandchildren play on the main floor of their home. Or holes that are plugged up with tissue. Now, many wouldn't accept that in their community, and they shouldn't accept it in theirs. They asked me where the police are. Where are my cops? Why ain't they out here? They have been clear in their message to me that they want police in their communities. They want us to be the police. And they don't want to be over-policed. And I will tell you, we can do both. We can be community police officers. We could be guardians. We could be protectors and not occupy a community. So I'm going to talk about a few things we've put into place in the immediacy, and then I want to hear your input. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, and this sometimes can be a hot topic, but was how we decided to start deploying resources. So let me just say this, our resources are scarce. We have a 30% vacancy rate. That's high. So we have to decide how are we deploying our resources to the best of our ability, what we have. Basically, where are we putting cops where they're needed the most? I just don't have the luxury of having a police officer on every block. So we started to look at the data and to show us where are these shootings happening the most. And that's where we're putting our police officers. So I've used the term hotspot policing. So what I want to do is tell you what hotspot policing is not. Hotspot policing is not zero tolerance enforcement for petty crimes. That's not hotspot policing. And anyone who thinks it is should go look and do a little research into it. Hotspot policing combined with procedural justice principles works. There's tons of data out there to show it, and that's exactly what we're doing. We started doing this about 3 weeks ago. This morning during my command staff meeting, I heard a story of an officer this weekend who was working in a community doing the hotspot areas and talking about how having foot races with kids and engaging with the community and how the kids are just elated to see them. And then you receive information that is helpful, maybe about something going on in the school or something else. These are real stories that I hear when I'm at my command staff meetings. So that's the first thing we're doing. We are prioritizing where we put our cops. We're putting them in places we need them and where the residents that I have spoken with want them. Number two, I have assigned a detective to the Safe Streets Task Force. It's an FBI Safe Streets Task Force. They work at a very high level with the idea of identifying where these guns are coming from, tracing guns. Because I have that same question. Where are these kids getting these guns? Okay? And then the third thing we're doing, well, let me go back to the data piece. Tomorrow, we are meeting, myself, Chief Longo, and Chief Reeves, with our crime analysis folks, to look at the data in this area. Because we all know that the folks who are committing these crimes of gun violence, they're not going to respect borders. So we need to be working together as a team to address these issues. And then thirdly is the community. Probably the most important part. When I first got here, I laid out 3 overall priorities. Community partnerships, gun violence. Number 1, you can't address gun violence without community partnerships. We all know that. Number 2, recruitment and retention. I can't do anything without people. And number 3 is the treatment and wellness of our staff. If I don't treat my officers right, with dignity and respect, I can't expect them to treat the community that way, and I'm not going to keep them. So I talked about those 3 things, and the community partnership piece is very important. And I'm just going to be frank. For some reason, we have disengaged from the community as a police department. We don't even do National Night Out anymore. I don't understand that. We don't have a Citizens Police Academy. I don't understand that. These are basic things designed to involve the community with their police department to help solve these complex issues when they happen. So we are going to build that from the ground up. Will be this week or early next week selecting a sergeant to be assigned as our community involvement coordinator. Because to do all those things, you need someone to do it. It's a lot of work. And while, yeah, it'll wind up pulling an officer off the street, but I got to tell you, we can't afford not to do it anymore. Look at this room. This is a community that is screaming to be involved with its police department and to solve some of these issues. And you're looking at your police department and say, what are you doing about this? So we're going to answer that. Okay. With that, I'm going to open this up for questions, comments, concerns. I want to hear from you. And if it's a question, I'll answer it. If I can't answer it, I'll get someone else to answer it. What I would like you to do is to line up here at the mic. Do you want to do that? Yeah, because we have too many people back there. So let's do that and get this around, and I'll ask questions. We ask you to keep it to 3 minutes, please. Okay?
Are we on?
Hello, sir. I would like to ask, what is your message to the politicians? Because police is law enforcement. Once the law is broken, the police acts. First responders respond once a shooting occurred. What is your message to our governor, to our representatives in Richmond, to our 2 senators, to the congressmen that represent Virginia? And thank you very much.
Thank you. So I pride myself on not doing politics. I just don't. But here's what I will tell you. I'll speak about locally, okay? Since I've been here, I've met with every one of our counselors, and they've been nothing but supportive. Every one of them asked me, Chief, what do you need? So we are in a good spot. They care. It's typically not a day that there's not an email about ways that they want to work on trying to address these complex issues with us. So I'm the chief. My boss is sitting right here. So I'm not, it's not my place to tell our elected officials or policy makers what to say or send a message to any of them. That's not my place. But I will tell you, in my experience in the last 6 weeks, this city has a great group of counselors, and they've been very supportive, and they're in this with us. Thank you.
I think we had one over here. Now, just so you know, this mic is actually for the video feed, so please do speak up. Not very good.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carl Jackson, and I'm the head trustee here at Zion Union Baptist Church, Daniels Hill, and we are having a terrible problem with homeless people. They trash our grounds. They come there every night and trash our ground. What can we do about it?
Well, thank you for that question. So we are taking, just so you know, we are taking notes, minutes, so when stuff like this comes up, we can document it and we can push it out to our folks that will address it. But first and foremost, I want to ask, has anyone called us when this has happened? Yes? Okay. Well then we will look in to see what's happened. But we need to be called when it happens, and we'll look at addressing it. Absolutely. Thank you, though.
Because it's a terrible situation.
Yes, sir.
Is there somebody else up here? Just going to the very first one standing.
There's a myth in America that the police actually stop crime. I assume you know better. When you say there's a lot of data suggesting that the hotspots are successful, the question is successful at what? And the answer is it's not going to be successful at stopping crime. It's not going to be successful at stopping shooting. So what is it going to be acceptable at? And secondly, I hope you didn't mean it that you would like to see a cop on every corner, because we don't want a cop on every corner. That's a very authoritarian society. And you haven't said, when everybody has said over the last 2 years the police department is down, nobody's ever said, what is the right number of patrol officers and how do you calculate that? So perhaps you could share some of those things with us.
So I'll try to answer two of the questions, sir. The ones I remember, so then we'll go back. So I don't think I said I want a cop on every block or on every corner.
You said, I don't have the luxury of having a cop on every corner.
I don't, but some folks would want that.
Luxury, I call that fashion.
Okay. All right, so the third question is, what is the number? So you're right, that is something we have to look at. What are our numbers that we need within our police department? Currently, we have 110 sworn. That is the same number of sworn officers that were allocated in 2017. So we need to look at that. I don't have 110 sworn. Not even close. Well, and so we have to look at that. And that would be, I've been here 6 weeks, sir. They're going to need to do a staffing study and look at it. So, okay? Was there a third question?
No, the first question, which was the myth that police actually stop crime, and your assertion that there's lots of data to suggest that hotspot policing is successful. The question was also, what do you call success?
What I call success is the folks being able to have their grandkids playing on the main floor without bullets coming through their home. I will agree with you that police cannot stop crime on their own. Agree with you 100%. When you look at our systems that have historically failed these communities, you're going to find a failed mental health system that is in complete crisis. You're going to find a failed education system. You're going to find a failed substance abuse system. When all those systems fail, when you have 3 homicides in a month and a half, nobody's calling Parks and Rec. They're calling the police. So I would agree with you. We have a lot of work to do, but so do those other systems. But we're a part of that. We're a part of that. People call 911, they get us, whether it be for a mental health call, whether it be someone overdosing because of a substance abuse disorder, whatever's happening, we're the ones that are called there. So I agree with you 110%, sir. We need to prop up those other systems. We need to work with them so we don't have to do their job.
But if you concentrate in one neighborhood, won't that shift the crime or the violence, in this case, to another neighborhood?
Not necessarily. The studies don't show that, but I would meet. Thank you for your question, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you please come forward, the media here, and, broadcasting this to the rest of the community?
We're not here for the media.
I know, but
Ma'am, they can stand. We're going to pass it around. They can go.
Good evening. I had a
Yes,
quick,
ma'am, go ahead.
I have a quick question, and so I do know that we do need enforcement and we do need change, but I have a question, and I'm sure a lot of our citizens would like clarification. Can you explain what is going to be the difference in your hotspot patrolling as what we used to have back in the day, what was known as SOTA zones?
Okay, great question. So first of all, SOTA zones, stay out of drug areas, have nothing to do with hotspots. So SOTA zones, let me finish. SOTA zones, okay, were implemented in Texas back in like 1997 by the courts. The courts, folks would come all out of prison, out of jail, they were on probation. The judge would say, hey, you can't go into these areas anymore as part of your probation. If you do, you'll get locked up. That's nothing to do with hotspots. Completely different, but I'm familiar with them. So when you talk about hotspot policing, very different that was done a long time ago when you're talking about the broken window theory of policing, right? I'm about to tell you. I'm about to tell you. So back then, when they looked at hotspots, okay, they used a theory called broken window theory policing. It's basically the idea that you would address petty crimes and it would have a residual effect on more major crimes. Those were short-term successes, but caused more harm to those communities than they did good. All right? The new studies with hotspot policing is what we are training our officers with. I just talked to the Center for Policing Equity last week. That's coming, and they're going to come and put together procedural justice training for our officers. So when you go into these communities, you get out of your car, you walk around, and you meet residents. You talk to kids. You sit on a porch and learn people's first name. You go up on Hardy Drive and have foot races with the kids, just like our officers do this weekend. That is what success looks like. So that's the difference between, I'm not going to say soda zones, because soda zones are not hostile policing. That's, well, anyway, they're very different. So I hope that answered your question, though. Yes. Great. Thank you. Yes,
Chief,
ma'am.
if you don't mind.
Oh. They had the mic. You'll be next.
So you yourself, Chief, just said that you've only been on this job 6 weeks, correct, sir?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people in the community can point out that we've had a lot of leadership in the city leave. The fire chief, the police chief. We've had a mass exodus of leadership. And I appreciate you coming out here tonight. I do appreciate you addressing our questions and taking the time to talk to us. My question more involves what is happening internally. We've seen a lot of closed-door sessions happening in city council meetings where information is not getting back out to the public. I don't want to say that there's corruption happening in Charlottesville, but there sure are a lot of secrets and questions going unanswered. I also have a concern when you talk about retention and recruitment, bringing in new officers who maybe might not be vetted appropriately, and now we're putting out a young kid with a gun and a badge who's going to be put in an extreme stress situation and might not make the right call. How are you vetting these new officers, and what are you doing internally to address the issues of City Council?
So I think there's a few questions there, so I'll try to answer. No, it's no problem. I think I got the gist of your question, though. So I'll start with the end of it about hiring. I'd rather hire no one than a wrong one. All right? And so we recently had a hiring blitz this Saturday. We had 20 applicants in one day. That's excellent. Several certifieds from other jurisdictions. But we're still going to vet them like every other person. So our hiring process, from the time you apply to the time you get through the academy, through FTO, it's over a year. It's a strenuous hiring process, and we're not going to cut corners. You have to take a written test. You have to take a physical agility test. You have a panel interview that a member of the PCOB is on now. That panel interview, a member of the PCOB has a say in who we're hiring. And then we're going to do a very thorough background investigation that includes a polygraph. But to your point,
That's all great.
You're always
put a gun in their hand.
Correct.
Getting shot at. Mm-hmm. You can only do so much theoretical.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we have a process. We have a process to make sure we hire the right people.
Have you addressed the retention issue? Why are your officers leaving, sir?
So, okay, so listen.
Previous chief, why are you new? What's happening?
Right. All right, so I'm not gonna sit here and disparage any of my previous predecessors. That's not fair, and it's not my place to do that. What I will say is that when I talk about the treatment and wellness of our staff, that matters. How we talk about our folks, words matter. Your chief's words matter. Policymakers' words matter. The community's words matter. The environment we create for a law enforcement organization to run matters. Now, look, as a former, I didn't think I'd ever say this, but most cops don't leave because of pay. That's the truth. And I was talking to someone earlier here, we were just talking just in general. People leave environments. So it's my job to create the right environment where people want to stay, where people are accountable to this community, and where we're transparent with a procedural justice mindset. We're sitting here talking about treating the community procedurally just. I can't expect my officers to do that if we're not treating them the same way internally. I hope that answers your question. I can't speak to what happened before I got here. It's not appropriate for me to do so.
Well, I have a lot to say, but I'm not going to. But
How are
I'm
you?
not going to say all I want to say tonight. So it'll be another time, I'm hoping. Well, what do you think about the neighborhood watch? We used to have that back in the day. Have anybody brought that up?
Tito and I were talking about this today, about neighborhood watches.
Oh, that's not all I got to say.
Yeah, Major Dre and I were talking about that.
You know, back in the, I'm talking about my generation with my children.
Yeah.
Now, if something would happen to my kids, I would call the police to bring them home. They couldn't get home, you know, with me buying them a watch on curfew, I would call. But we don't know these policemen.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't feel safe calling them, and I'm sorry to say that, because we, like you said, if y'all start this community policing, that's what we need. We've been asking for that, but we want some kind people with some smiles, get to know my name. And I have never seen no one up on my street.
You talking about hiring?
Honey, if I could, I would. I miss my calling. But anyway, and it's a whole lot of things going on. We lost faith because so many people are so mean. They don't even speak. And you know what else? It's too expensive to live here, so these cops live way outside somewhere. So say if you need somebody in a hurry, by the time they get to my house, I'll be gone or whatever. I mean, seriously, don't come after the fact. Come when I call you right quick, because I can't, run.
I'll still find a place for you, okay? I
No,
will.
but that's some of what I want to say. But if you can get the community policing back like it used to be, where we knew the police and they knew us, and I could call you to come get my grandkids if they're out in the street.
Yes.
All right.
So you're exactly right. And that's procedural justice. That is us in the communities, meeting folks, talking to them. And when we got to address issues, look, I don't want to glaze over the fact sometimes policing is, you got to treat people, it's not always pretty. No. But you have to treat people fair with dignity and respect and fairness and give them a voice, explaining the why. All of those things matter. So, I will tell you, and I'm going to say, and I'll say this.
Reiterate that to your office.
Well, let me say this. I've been here for 6 weeks now. I've been nothing but impressed with the staff I have here now. I don't know what's happened in the past, but I will tell you, okay? We have a group of dedicated women and men in this agency. They don't have to be here. Many of them are not. Many of them left. These folks have been through a lot, these officers. They've been through a lot. That murder that happened the other day, the next day I walked into that squad room where the detectives were, and I saw that detective. He looked, he ain't sleeping like 2 days. And I said, I said, how much sleep did you get? He said, about an hour and a half. He didn't know that man that was killed, but he understands the stakes of trying to bring justice to a family he's never met. And and I'll take that. So we have good people in our agency. Can we do better? Absolutely. As a profession, and I've said this before, we have not always been on the right side of justice. We carry baggage as a profession. I recognize that. I don't know what it's like to have the same, you have to have a conversation with your kids when they start driving, different than I have to have with mine. I get that. And so do a lot of my officers, right? So we just need to, you're right, we need to smile more. As simple as that sounds. We need to treat people better. And we're going to do just that.
Sure. I have a question over here.
Yes, I'm Terry Anderson. My son, he got killed in September.
I'm sorry, can I'll come to you.
I'm
sorry,
Terry
what-
Anderson. My son got killed in September. I was wondering, what is y'all gonna do? Daquan Anderson.
Daquan Anderson, did that happen down on the mall?
Yeah.
Okay. So I could tell you that, can I repeat your question or?
Yeah, Chief, maybe we could repeat the question.
I was saying, what is y'all gonna do? Because it's been 5 months.
So I will tell you that I am very much aware of that case, And I have met with the Commonwealth Attorney about it, and we have met with our detectives, and they are working tirelessly to bring some closure to that case. Now, and I'll be more than willing to set up a meeting just one-on-one or with them to talk to you. I don't want to discuss details about your son's investigation in front of all these people. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay.
Testing. Yeah, let me come forward. Oh, excuse me, I am so sorry. You all right? Let me help you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harold Foley. I've been a lifetime Charlottesville townie. My question, though, is, for people who've been in Charlottesville, know sometimes we have this violence spike and it come down, but obviously this one has been up and it's an emergency. My question to you is, how are you going to evaluate when to stop the pressure? Because what happens is, if you don't, you're going to be harassing a lot of other black and brown kids for nothing. That's how I feel about it, because I have been subject to one of those things when I was a kid. But my question, how are you going to reevaluate and know that you are doing the right thing without a community getting upset about you harassing and figuring out what to do next?
So, thank you for your question. First of all, if there's a complaint of my officers harassing people, I need to know about it, because that's not what we're doing. Okay? Being in communities, engaging with residents, talking with them, getting to know them, building meaningful relationships, that shouldn't look like harassing. And if it does, well, then we need to readjust. That's the first thing. The second piece of that is we are going to be meeting monthly. Tomorrow's our first meeting. It's a CompStat meeting with our regional partners to talk about the data and see where are the issues, why are they there, dig deep into it, and then to understand where we need to move resources as necessary. None of us have enough resources, so we have to make sure we know where they are. But to your point about harassment, that's a real fear, and I need to know if that's happening so we can address it.
So my question is, you work with data, and so will you be transparent and putting that data out so that folks know what's
Yes.
going on and what's not and what's right?
Yes.
Because I think the gentleman said it clearly, a lot of things happen in closed rooms.
Yeah.
That folks don't know. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we will. We're gonna discuss this tomorrow. It's our first meeting tomorrow, and part of that discussion is how do we involve the community in that? How do we report out to the community about where things are happening and why they're happening? So absolutely, yes. There's nothing secret about that information.
We have another one right over there.
Yes.
I said I wasn't going to come and make a comment, but I can't sit here. I cannot sit here and not say that this is not a police issue. It's more of a parenting issue. I am a single mother of 2 black males. I know what comes in my house. I check the bags, I check the pockets, I check under the mattress, I check the drawers. No guns are coming in my house, no drugs are coming in my house. Put the accountability back on the parents, and then we won't have all this gun violence.
There's a big issue about trusting the police here. A big issue. There's police on the force that the community has complained about for years on top of years on top of years, but they're still on the force. And you talk about lie detecting. Will you make the officers that are on the force now take a lie detector test?
They all have.
They all have? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, to get hired with the Charlottesville Police Department for, my God, Tito, how long have you been here? 30 years. Did you take a polygraph and you got hired?
They already have.
Tito's been here 30 years. So yes.
Okay.
Every officer has.
And you talk about trust. There's a worker that works for the city who attended the insurrection in 2021. He works for your department. He works for the fire department. He's an analyst. But the
counselors say there's nothing wrong with him still working for the city. But I feel that someone who attended the insurrection, who was with Alex Jones, Enrique Torres, he was with the Proud Boys, all of them, took pictures, he was proud to be with them, but he still has a job with the city. If we're supposed to trust this city in protecting us, why has this man that attended the insurrection, why has he been allowed to keep his job? No matter if the FBI found he did anything wrong. He attended that insurrection. That was people that were against my people. So he's still working for the city next to black people. People that, those people hate it. They hate us. But we still have a person that attended the insurrection that's working for your department. So I'd just like to know what, or if anything can be done about this man that works for your department.
So thank you for your question. I'll answer. I kind of get two questions out of that. The first is the employee you're speaking of, I'm not aware of. I don't believe they're an employee of the police department.
Yeah, he's an analyst for the police.
Of the police department.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm unaware of that, but I can get clarification on that later. But ma'am, I want to answer your question. I want to answer your question, and I can't speak to it because that happened before I got here. So, my understanding, people are aware of all of that. But you bring up a good point about trust. You're right. There's a reason why you don't trust us. Because you only see us when there's an emergency in your community. You're only seeing us when something bad's happening. We've completely withdrawn from the community. And so to that, I apologize. But we're going to fix it. We're going to get back out into the community and meet folks and learn who people are. Learn names, build relationships. In order to build relationships, you have to be present. And present not only when there's bad things happening. So you're right. We have work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And I still think I'm pretty young, so I got the energy I'm going to put into work, and so is this agency. Because I can tell you right now, the women and men of this agency, they want to serve this community. They're good, hard-working folks. They want your trust, and we're going to work hard to get it. So thank you.
We have one over here.
Next.
Right here?
Right here in the back.
Right there.
Excuse
Yes, sir.
How's everyone doing? My name is Ronnie Megginson. I'm the owner of Culture Vibes Clothing Store out in the Stonefield Shopping Center. I'm also a promoter, King Ron Entertainment. We do a lot of events. We partner with South and Central to do a lot of events for the community. There's no trust in the police department. As a promoter and as a business owner, every single individual that you see has passed recently came into my store. Target, Belk, they don't experience this. This is my community. We even call for y'all help when we have events across the street to help keep everybody safe. When we clearing out the lot, y'all leave us hanging. Y'all leave us hanging, y'all hope something happens, and y'all leave it on our hands. This is not one time, two times. We've had multiple events at South and Central, and y'all done it to us every single time. While we single-handedly try to take care of this community ourselves, because we personally know everybody around here, personally. So we try to do everything we can. We even tried to pay your police department to send us some help over here, clearing out the parking lot, and y'all left us hanging.
As like a detail? Like, is that what you're talking about? Like hire an officer to work there?
It's not even hiring. When you told me you couldn't send nobody out there, we offered to pay somebody to come out there.
Okay.
So from everybody, we have organizations that help us, but the police department, y'all did nothing. You do nothing and you wait till the things fall in our hands, and then you say we call when it's an emergency, but before it's an emergency happens, y'all know where to be found.
So I will tell you, if you're calling the police and we're not showing up, that's a problem, and I need to know
It is a
about
problem. It's been a problem. Like
Okay.
even stating it now, I don't think nothing's going to change me saying it to you now because it sounds
You'd
good
be
saying it in
surprised.
front. It sounds good saying it in front of this crowd. But when you got to go back out here and continue, and then we get faced with the same thing, it's nothing. It sounds good in words, but if you don't have no action coming behind it, what do you want us to do as a community? What do you want us to do?
All we can do is prove to you that we're going to do it, sir. But if there are specific issues like that, I need to know about it.
You know about them.
I know now.
You know about them.
But I need some details about it, because if we're not responding when you call us, that's a problem. It goes exactly to your point about trust.
But once again, it sounds good when you're saying it right here, but when we're on the phone with you and you guys are literally hanging up on us and telling us there's nothing you can do, so what do we do? What do? We got 300-400 people that we got to make sure make it home safe. But if we can't rely on our community, the police department that's supposed to patrol this community to help us with this, what are we supposed to do? Y'all shut every event down we have, and you claim it you put it on our events. We very well know what's going on in this community. We are part of it. We do everything we can as business owners, as people, to try to stop this stuff from happening. So help me make sense of it.
Well, let's talk afterwards so I can get some details, and let's continue dialogue, because you're right. We need to do better then.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Sounds good.
No problem.
Who's next?
I don't need this mic.
Well, it's for the.
My name is Francine Chambers, and I'm gonna tell you something. Daquan got killed in September. When the detective came to their house that night, I told my cousin Terry, it's not gonna be solved. I deal with Henrico Police Department in Richmond. We had this event that we gave $1,000. I raised this, $1,000 to everybody that bring their gun in. It was over 80 girl boys that brought their gun in. Some gotta give, because you don't know my cousin. And I'm gonna tell you what hurt me so bad. I ended up doing the mobile service. We paid for a cop to come so that the security, because see, I'm not from here, so I don't know what the rounds is. Did you think a cop came? And we spent that money? No cop was out there for us hurt to get killed or me to get killed. So that's why I said I'm angry. I'm pissed because this is not me. I'm a whole person since Daquan got killed. Yes, I gotta understand he was out there in the street, but guess what? He's somebody's son, and that's my nephew. So I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. When I told her that day, when the detective left that house, I said, honey, I'm gonna tell you something, cuz, and I keep it real. You ain't gonna get his killer right there. This girl is hurting. Nobody knows sleepless nights. We can't eat. My mind is like a motor. These killers are still out here. So if they kill your children, what do you think? It ain't right. Something gotta give. You get them guns off the street, because I'm gonna tell you some whole lot of mamas gonna be crying. Look at my cousin. This is a hot mess. And I don't think that Charlottesville are doing this, y'all, and I'm sorry. I'm going, sir. Come on.
It's a hand raiser over here.
Hey, so I've been here for about 4 years. I'm kind of new in the area. So,
Me too.
I'm recognizing some people, not everybody. My concern, just as, I'm not gonna say as an outsider, because I've been here long enough now, almost 5 years at this point, but my concern is this is a big issue. This is a small venue. There were people standing outside in the rain, and it's a 6 o'clock meeting. So the people that we might be trying to reach, they're not gonna make it here, and maybe they can't fit inside. Right. So going forward, like, how do we know about these things in the future? Are we gonna get a bigger venue? Because I think there needs to be impact, and obviously, I don't think, somebody else said it's not a police issue per se. We got to get into the community, but we need to get the community, under the same roof. This ain't it, though.
We
this seems
were
kind
under
of
the
strange.
impression, you might have been here just a little bit late, we were
Yeah.
under the impression this was the neighborhood association meeting, which is about 15 people.
Right. But to your,
We
yeah.
do hold about 100 in here, we're like, oh, we'll never reach 100 people, it'll be fine. We also have an event, I'm the general manager of Dairy Market, and we also have an event space down below the Dairy Market that holds about 250 people.
Right.
And we have also said that we're more than happy to host these meetings down there at any time as well, so that we can fit more people in as well.
Yeah, it just
So,
doesn't
just to
seem
answer
like
that question, I'm
So
serious.
that's a good point. Here's the other thing. We also got to get out there and talk to folks on their front doorsteps, in their living rooms, in their yards, and venues like this. So we started doing that, and we're going to continue to do that every week. Going to be doing another walk and talk Wednesday at 2:30 near 10th and Page, in the area there. Literally knocking on doors, speaking with residents, hearing their stories, and what they expect from us. Okay.
Yeah, I think
So,
yeah, it's
but
going to be
we
part of the
typically, or
issue.
we could also do it later. So, but we're going to. The point is, we're going to continue to do that.
Right.
Okay. And so, yes, you're right. And a larger venue would be great, and we'll do that next time. But like we said earlier on, it's more than we expected.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to have a
2:30.
2:30.
Yeah, tomorrow.
I'm of the community, been here, was born here, and I'm annoyed right now. I'm annoyed that you want a community conversation, and this was supposed to be 15 people of our community organization. Thankful that everybody is here.
Absolutely.
But however, I'm sick of the media. This is not a media opportunity. These are people who died in our community. This is about death, and this is about how to stop it. We should be all focused on how to stop this. And so if you want to focus there, I'm with you. But if you want the media opportunity, back up. Because I'm not here for that.
Yep.
I want you all to put focus on some activities. You have things, like you said, Parks and Rec. If you look at the activity list, it's things for the babies and it's things for the seniors, every now and then. You're not gonna have crafting for our kids. They don't wanna come to that probably. You don't have anything to attract them in our community anymore. These young kids are having a terrible time. And I'm even sorry to say young kids because the ages of the people who has passed is not young kids. These are young men. These are young men in this community who has failed from not having the activities from being kids and teenagers. So do something about focusing on the activities. Do something like this young lady said about taking the guns off the street. What activities are you going to do? I want to hear action. I don't want to hear anything else really. I want to hear what's the plan and how to help us sleep at night. What you want to do when we hear them pops in the middle of the night, or when you hear UVA just having a ball shooting off firecrackers in the middle of the night and everybody going to take care of them. Do something. Action.
Thank you.
My wife and I have been residents of 10.5 Street for 19 years, and yeah, there's a lot of gunshots that we hear. It's pretty scary. I have 2 young kids. I wondered, so I've never been approached by a police officer. I've never seen a police officer walk on my street. How many people in this room have had a conversation with a police officer in the vicinity of their neighborhood in the last year? Raise your hand. That's a failure. And how many people live in this immediate neighborhood? Raise your hand if you live in this immediate neighborhood. 10th page. We need to see you, and I need to see that you've come in the neighborhood to believe that you're actually doing the job. And I want to know how you're going to measure that that job is exactly done, this community policing. How do you know that you've done it, and not just by some anecdote by coming in here and say, we've been doing it, see? There's a couple of people we've talked to. How are you going to measure it? Because what gets measured gets done.
So you make a great point. How do we measure success? Especially when it comes to putting officers back into communities that have withdrawn. To your point, 1.5 years you've been there, right? 19? Yeah. So we have to figure out a way to measure that. And you know, it's been 6 weeks. We're working through that right now. Give me a little time. Okay?
I think we had one question over here. You had a question.
She's had her hands up for a while. Yeah.
So everybody that's not here.
There's a lot of people that are here that want to talk.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm like, they're not
I
on.
don't know how
I
to-
want to say that, yes, it does take a village. It takes a village to change things in our community. As far as the police going into the community, yes, sir, I would like to see more of the officers in the community. I do say I came to this community, when I came, it was very bad. I didn't even want to come out of my house on 10th and Page area here. When Chief Longo came onto the police force, we had captains. We created captains in the community. I was one of the captains in the community to help try to work with him. And he had meetings with us. He would come to the community and have meetings with the captains of the community and any other community residents in that community. He used to be out there too with Chief Longo. And crime rate I seen go down. when that was happening. Can we get that started again in the community if people are willing to do that in their community? And you guys work very closely with those in the community and the captains and things in the community as well? Because I've seen where it worked.
Absolutely. And thank you. Yes, and we put that down in our notes. It's a great idea. A lot of places are doing something called reset walks. Similar, a little different, but of that same line. But yes, absolutely. Thank you, because that's why we're here, to hear your input and to hear your ideas. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Gibson. I live in the 10th and Page. Been there all my life. And I can only remember how the police used to police this area. They had horses, they had motorcycles, and yes, they were on foot, and they were not just on the Hardy Drive. They were on foot in all of these areas. Venable, Rose Hill, Preston, and yes, it did make a better awareness. And it was comfortable. You knew who the people were, the police knew who they were, and the police knew who the people were. My concern with all of this killing and shooting is that in this world, there is no respect for human life anymore. From the police taking the first step of using lethal force when there may be other reasons, ways they can deal with a threat. From the community not knowing who their enemies are, because sometimes we don't know who our neighbors are. This city is transitioning so quickly, but it's time for people to get to know who's living around them, as well as what the young lady said, what's going on in your household. I am so concerned about this senseless killings and the fact that I still don't know where the threat lies. The shooters, the victims, are they part of this residence? Where are they from? Why do we never get in? Because I don't know how close this threat is to me. It could be right around the corner. Because when we never get feedback on who the shooters are, we always find out who the victims are. But where are these people coming from? And the fact that, yes, the gun control needs to change. Something needs to, and I appreciate you sharing about that neighborhood watch, because that was very resourceful back when it was used. We have buildings in our communities that were once used for police satellite buildings. Yep. And I hope they would be used again.
We are starting to, on Prospect, we are opening up the substation up there here shortly. So yes, you're right, and we're looking into that as we speak. But yes, and the community watch programs, again, those are more things that we're looking at. So thank you.
There's one right over here.
I'm sorry, hold on. You had another question.
Oh, sorry.
About the information that we're putting out.
Tell about the information that you're receiving in these homicides.
Yeah. So we have to put out the victim's name if they're an adult. We can't withhold that. All right? We cannot put out a suspect's name unless there's an active warrant, unless we charge the person or take them into custody. And sometimes we may charge somebody and not put out their name right away for operational reasons, because we may not want them to know right away that they're wanted, so we can actually get them into custody. All right? Once they're arrested, we have to release their name, and we do. The three most recent homicides all involved people who either knew each other or were acquainted some way with each other. I can say that. So there's that. As for the guns, they're coming from all over the place. Cars that are broken into in other areas, guns that are left unlocked in people's homes, stolen, you name it. That's where the guns are coming from. Most of our shots fired calls that we're seeing, typically teenagers. Between neighborhood beefs and to settle conflicts. That probably when we were coming up conflicts, we probably settled with a fight. Did that answer your question?
I'm concerned about the difference in how you handle shootings and homicides on UVA property and how it's responded and treated in the neighborhood here. I can imagine, I have never seen where they closed down the whole city after UVA. That's an example of what's not fair.
I wasn't here when that happened, so I'm not sure exactly why certain decisions were made then, ma'am. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Mary
Hi.
Coleman. I'm an executive director at City of Promise.
Hi.
I've been there 6 years. In the 6 years I've been there, I've really never seen the police walk the street. They drive through, but they don't walk the street. So that's, just something to keep in mind. I appreciate you acknowledging that. I have a couple of comments. I was on the last group of graduates for the Citizens Police Academy. And for those of you who don't know, that was an academy that was 12 weeks long, was for the citizens, and we got to learn the ins and outs of how policing worked in Charlottesville. I went in there with 2 out of 10 appreciation for the police and respect for police, and I left with an 8. And so what I suggested to the officers then was you need to have a police citizens academy where the police come for 12 weeks and listen to the citizens of the community.
That's good.
Right? Because part of it is the empathy that I was able to develop with those officers over time. 12 weeks together, we're eating together, they're humanized to me. And that's part of the unconscious bias that has to be broken. You don't know the biases people come into your force with. But this is one way to mitigate that. The other thing I would like to say is that I know you don't want to be involved in politics, but there's a correlation between crime and poverty. And unless police are willing to say to people who hold the levers of money that the two things are correlated, then the people who hold the levers of money are going to resource you instead of us.
So when I
Well,
say
I'm not done.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to answer your question. I'll wait. Go ahead.
So I just encourage you to be because everybody, I encourage you to go home and find out the correlation between crime and poverty. And where there's a growing income gap, the crime grows. And the reason why you can't recruit some guys or women to your force is because it costs a lot to live here, right? You have a whole bucket of money just to help people own a home, right? In Charlottesville. The foundation helps officers buy houses. Anyway, that's the way it was when I was in the academy.
That's good to know. I was not aware of that.
Ms. Coleman, let me answer that. So, 2 things I think is important with the West. So with the police academy, we had I'm just being candid, a couple, maybe 5 or 6 years, longer than that. 8 to 10 years ago, we had what we call basically police review board, where essentially we were doing exactly that. We couldn't fill it. So we had, there was 12 slots. We literally couldn't fill people to serve on that board. Then the community called for a civilian review board. So subsequently, when I was on council, we closed the police review board, or whatever we want to call it, the academy, and then we started the civilian review board. So I think collectively, there's no reason why it has to be either or, but we're gonna have to ask ourselves, one, when we have these things, are we willing to be engaged? And this isn't business plan, this isn't me saying, somebody needs to do something that what we aren't doing, but when we have programs or opportunities available, the question also becomes, how engaged are we? Similar to when points are raised about parents need to do A, B, and C, or the police need to do X, Y, and Z, we also have to collectively ask ourselves, what are you doing? Not just everybody else and not blaming everybody else, but what are you willing to do? Are we willing to mentor the young man who we think that may be a little scary, or may wear their pants a little below their butt, or have a different kind of hair? Are we willing to engage that person to truly form a community? Are we willing to engage the young woman who we think may use choice words or speaks a little differently from us? What are we actively willing to do to interact and engage with specifically our young people? It's one thing to blame the police, and we can have our issues. I'm not saying I'm a police empathizer, but they have a role and we have a role. Like Bug Squad got a role, Prolific, the Run Crew has a role, the people who live in these communities have a role. What is your role? We like, I hear Dr. Gurley, Principal Pitts, they're begging for people to come to the schools to help out and interact with the young men. Where we at? We have events down in Tonslip. We have a certain demographic that comes out, but then after that's over, everybody's scattered. When we talking about here again within our community, like, this is our community. This is our community.
It's okay.
We can't blame everybody else for what we need.
Did I talk to you today from City of Promise? Oh, okay. You guys do some great work.
Thank you. So now I just want to get to my question.
Yeah, oh, she didn't finish yet. Well, let her finish.
So City of Promise now serves the whole city of Charlottesville. So we've got things for your children to do. So call me, right? So my question to you is, what is that partnership going to look like? You said you want to partner with community organizations. Give an example of what you would do in partnership with City of Promise.
Well, I don't need the mic. I got like 3 of them on me here. But so I reached out to your colleague today, right? From City of Promise. I saw it on our community group of 10th and Page. I saw the post that y'all did, and I just think you guys are doing some great work, and I'd love to meet and partner with you all. We're here to partner with you.
I'm the program assistant in marketing. You can get my number out.
Excellent. Perfect. To your other question about the politics portion. The point I'm trying to make is the last thing this city needs is a police chief that's a politician. It's not me. I don't think anybody wants that. Okay? Oh, and besides, I wouldn't be very good at it. All right? So, but I hope that answers your questions. Yeah. Rennie? Rennie don't need. Go ahead, Rennie.
First of all, you said a substation on Prospect?
Yep.
I live on Prospect.
I know.
There used to be a substation
Yep.
on Prospect.
We're standing it back up.
And forgive my French, it won't work for them, it didn't make a difference. What is that substation? What difference is that gonna make? I'm hoping, for your sake, that it's gonna be okay. But in the past, it never made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna piggyback on some folks that were talking about this being a community problem. Yes, very much so. We have young children, young men, young teenagers with guns, and they can't even spell. They can't even spell.
That's right.
How did we get here? It is time to be truthful and honest. How did we get here? We got 72% rate of young black males being suspended. I would love to know what's the percentage of them, what's their reading average? What level are they reading on? How did we get here? We gotta stop blaming this person, that person, this person. We need to come together, just like Wes said, and I don't usually agree with Wes a lot. Come together for real, Wes, that's what people are on. We need to come together as a community, and when I say community, I'm speaking about my community, my people, my black brothers and sisters here. We need to depend on each other. Forget them. They got to do what they got to do. We need them, and they're here to do what they got to do. But until we about each other and be honest with one another about what we are doing and not doing, what they do ain't going to amount to a hill of beans. Because we're going to be right back here again, talking about the same thing. We're failing our children. And our children are begging for help. How do we help them? That's what we need to help them. So that we are not sitting here talking to Chief about one of them being killed senselessly within a 24-hour period. 2 murders in Charlottesville. Come on, be honest. It is time for honesty.
Thank you, Rennie. Oh, I'm sorry. What is it? 7 an hour? Great. All right.
Oh, I didn't need that. I listened to Murray
And then I listened to the runner, and what I'm thinking when we're talking about community, and you say we're in the community. I'm with an organization that's been in the community 27 years. Married with an organization. You have the Yoo-Hoo Foundation. Alexander do what he do. You have grassroots people that to this day, it's like we're looked over. We don't look for mediocres. We look for support. We're in the community supporting these young kids. We all know they're looking at reading levels and math levels for 5th and 6th grade black boys, and they're building penitentiaries accordingly. We work with these kids, but it seems like for organizations and individuals that's doing these things, we have to fight to get resources to help the community that we work. And then it's not just a police issue, because I work with Chief Longo. I went to the Citizen Police Academy myself. I remember the substation in Prospect, all that stuff in his office. And I remember you say hotspot police. Sound like community policing to me. Now, I could be wrong, and there's pros and cons to the whole thing. So here's the thing. We're here tonight, and we're saying we know our kids been getting killed. It's just frequent now, you know. And here's my point. If I take credit for when it's not happening, then I have to take some credit for when it is happening. So there's a lot of things going on that people take credit for when it's going good, but get in the shadows when things. But what about the organization that been working in the trenches? What about the individuals that's in the trenches that's trying to provide and also do the right thing? So it's not just a police issue. It's not just a people issue. It's everything. It's the organization. It's city council. It's the police department. It's Eddie Howard. It's Prospect Avenue. So how do we put all that together and support organizations that's working with these young kids that out here carrying these guns, and maybe they're not in that fold because we don't have the support to go out and get them. You know, so we have to think about how we going to address this. Not just no one person, you know, and not use this forum tonight to say, hey, this is what we did, and we move on our merry way. We have to figure it out. And if you don't involve every player in the game, you're missing out.
You're 100% right. And that's like I said earlier, you know, we met, we sat down. The work some of these groups are doing in this city is tremendous. And you're 100% right. The police, we're not going to solve this problem unless everybody works together with the groups that you're talking about. I would love to sit down and meet with you and talk about ways we can put it all together, just like you said, because we can't do it on our own. We're not going to be successful if we're just doing it on our own.
I'd love to get your contact.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dan, all right, up.
I let her say something.
Yes, you were raising your hand. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, back in my day again with my kids, what happened to the city leagues? I know the pandemic came, but it ain't always had to do it here. The city league, you know, with the football, my children play baseball with the city. They were Boy Scouts. What happened to the Boy Scouts? They went to church. Nobody's going to church much because our church is still in these days. But I'm saying, things that the youth need.
Yeah.
Yes, and so what happened, you all? I'm talking about the people that run the city. What is happening to all the events? They took the skating ring away and made a business or a parking lot downtown. I used to take the children. I had foster children. I raised foster kids. I used to take those children down to the skating ring, the ice skating ring. They closed that down. We had a place, what was the name of that place that we used to take over? They had little go-karts and stuff. Like the back way you go into Walmart. Funland. What happened? They closed that down. Everything. They had a batting cage. I used to take my boys down there to bat ball. What happened to all the stuff for children? No wonder they get in trouble. Our minds is Devil's Workshop.
You're right. I don't know the answer to those questions. I wasn't here. I don't know what.
No, but somebody in the city out to know something. What happened to it? Somebody closed it down and it wasn't us.
Zan?
Thank you. I'm Mr. Alexander, and I've been in this community for a minute. I was here in 1975 when they had the riot up on Main Street. But before I go any further, I want us, since it's Black History Month, this building in 1959, when the schools were integrated, this church served black folk and black students to learn when those white schools closed down. 1969, this building, when we walked out of high school at Lane High School, we came to this building. So my point is, when I talk with young people, Brother West, and other folk, when I talk to young folk, you're in one or two camps. And this goes for you folk as well. You either in WBC or CIP. WBC is whining, bitching, and complaining. That's one camp. The next camp is CIP, creating, innovating, and producing. So my question to all of you folk here this evening is what you can do starts with you. Don't be pointing fingers all at the police. Don't be pointing fingers at the Buck Squad. Don't be pointing fingers at the NAACP. What are you willing to do at this moment? Some of you folks are going home this evening, and you may be in a confrontation in your house or neighborhood, and you're going to be calling Popo. So it's not all about the police. It's about all of you. It starts with you. You look in the mirror. It starts with you and then your family, then the community. I heard some a while back. Everybody is an angel until you get your feathers plucked. This is why I created, and y'all have seen these yard signs. Yo, let it go. If you don't feed it, it won't grow. Now, you can have all the policemen. You can call the Virginia State Police. But until we start addressing the mindset of our young people and your mindset, it's the mind. We've got to get to the minds of our young folk. What's in their headspace? I'm starting something new. It's called Staying Alive. Staying alive. It ain't about your pride, it's about staying alive. And how we can stay alive is help out the Buck Squad, help out the prolific and the runners. Let's help each other. You folk, when you see young folk, don't turn your head. As Brother West say, if you see someone that's hurting and in pain, talk to them. Hurt people hurt people. And we've got a whole lot of hurt people out here. So I'm going to close on this note. It's not all about the police. It's also about you, and you. What are you going to do? What are we going to do? And people talk about events. What young people don't have this. Create an event. If you don't like the squad, you create a team. Stop whining and begging. You're just some of the most whining people. Make some, create some, and produce something. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander.
Also, I got some yoga posters. And they're free of charge. Anybody want a yoga person poster to take home?
Take the mic, bro. I'm not speaking here. I'm on something, bro.
Hello, my name is Zania Bryant, and I am the youth. And I just want to say, speaking from a youth perspective, it's really nothing for us to do here. That's why our peers are involved in so much stuff in the streets. And also, like, school is not the best place either. they don't feel welcome in school. So when they come to school, that's why they do what they do, and then they get suspended, and then they get pushed out of school, and they fall into the streets, and they fall into those cycles. You said it took you 3 days to get in contact with Dairy Market and get this whole thing orchestrated, right? Or like how you
That
got
was-
this space?
well, couple hours to get it done,
So,
but
It kind of just escalated to this event.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In just moments.
So how long would it take me to be able to use a space where y'all built in a black neighborhood so I can do something for the youth?
I would love to talk to more people about these kind of things. That we
they
can
want to do that.
Community events and things that we can do. We do free events all the time at the market. We try to include absolutely everybody. But if there's some ideas that you have, I would love to get you.
Yeah, but sometimes we don't feel included.
No, and I completely understand. I completely appreciate that. And I would love to sit down with you and maybe some of your friends and family and go over what kind of events you're looking for. I'm happy to do those events.
Okay.
And kind of work with those with you.
And by a show of hands, how many people in the room would like to come in and help the youth and mentor them since y'all are here? Because like Wes said, that he's been in some meetings with the school and like they want to do it, but they're not putting that to action. I can tell you that right now. I go to school every day. I dread going to that school every day. They're not doing anything.
Okay.
So we're counting on you all to do something for us because it's a cry for help. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, Mr. Fogel, you were next, right?
Yeah. Who's?
No, you and
I'm gonna just step up here if I can for a second. Hey. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to take a brief moment. I want to thank the chief and the effort here tonight. My name is Jay James. I'm a city resident, and I'm the spokesperson or public information officer for the Bridge Ministry Substance Use and Treatment Center. We're part of the substance use and the mental health services that are offered in our community. I represent someone named William Washington who was shot at the age of 14 and was in the streets in Charlottesville, had to overcome the drug trade, had to overcome a lot of the challenges that we're experiencing right now. And there's two things that he wanted me to come tonight in support of this event and to share from the perspective of what we're seeing at the Bridge, reaching out to men who are suffering from the sickness of addiction and the mental health challenges. Is two things. We're talking a lot about our young people, absolutely, the future of our community. But what we're not talking about is something that our Commonwealth's attorney said, and Mr. Washington wanted me to bring light to today, which is this. The folks that are happening with our young people who get involved in the shootings and some of the root causes of the violence, they're coming out of dysfunctional homes. They're coming out of homes where there's substance abuse. They're coming out of homes where there's lack of economic opportunity. They're coming out of homes where there's systemic oppression economically. And so what he wanted me to share is we definitely got to work with our young people, but what about working with their parents who are stuck in a cycle of systemic oppression? And what we see in the criminal justice system far too often, the 270 people sitting at the Albemarle Charlottesville Regional Jail or those that get sent to the penitentiary, and what we're seeing as someone who provides an alternative to incarceration is people getting the wrong opportunity for a short period of time that doesn't address the root causes of their addiction and the sickness they're suffering from, instead of the right opportunity to help them change direction so they can impact our young people. We have a systemic problem in our criminal justice system here in Charlottesville where people are being set up for failure. And so what Mr. Washington wanted me to just come and say tonight is, as a community, it's time for us to stand together and say, let's give that African-American gentleman or anybody I'm going to speak to that for a second. Well, let's give him an opportunity with workforce development to treat his mental health issues so he can step back into that home and be a father to our young people who are getting involved in violence because they don't have the home life that they need. And our Commonwealth's attorney said to us, he said, look, when I see them and I'm prosecuting them, I'm seeing people who don't have these things that some of us have, and they need them. So that's really, as everybody was talking about things that we can focus on, we got to look beyond just the police. We got to look at the system itself and how many people are locked up on Avon Street that should have a better opportunity. And what Mr. Washington is saying, the Bridge is ready. Give us the chance to work with them, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. I think Mr. Fogel, you were next. There you go.
I want to get back briefly to the police because I really thought. Last one didn't even raise his hand and got to speak.
Call me. You can ask me. Okay.
But I want to share with the community.
Okay.
I agree that it's not all on the police. But I think if we're going to talk about being real and we're going to talk about you being here for 6 weeks and starting off on the right foot, when you come in here and you say that everybody in your squad is solid and you know this, and there's people in here who have been affected by those people that don't feel solid.
And you had different experience than
So
I.
and that's fine.
Right.
But what it feels like is you are here representing an organization. It feels like you are doing a job right now. It feels like you are saying what you are supposed to say from this position, that everybody in my squad is solid. And that's bullshit. Because we know that it's impossible for everybody in your squad to be solid. Like we talking about real life. Like real life, it's impossible. So don't come in here and want us to trust you and then say shit like that. That ain't fair. Then for you to say that what you have done, like what you are putting in place has been measured, there is evidence for
I haven't said it's been measured here.
hotspotting
Okay, yeah,
police.
yeah.
You said this is measurable. There is evidence that this works.
There is.
And then when he asked you, how are you going to quantify this? How are you going to measure this? And you're saying, we're still trying to figure that out. Why are you still trying to figure out something you said is measurable? It's already proven to be better.
Because we got to figure out how to measure it here. Everywhere is going to be unique.
Okay, so that's fine, and I can understand that.
Okay.
Also, if we talk about community, we all have to take a look at what we are struggling with.
Absolutely.
We are here because we think we got our shit together. That's why we all here, and we want to make a difference. And we all struggling through this season of life. This COVID shit, all of this has messed us up. And so when we talking about these young people, let's not be judging them like y'all lived through this shit that they living through. Y'all ain't never lived through this before with the 15-year-old mindset that's been fucked up by this system. Excuse my language. But y'all cannot stand in here judging my people, because y'all fucked us up. Y'all would, I get out of my car and your people don't speak to me. I'm out here. I don't fuck with y'all. I'm not afraid of y'all. And I also don't agitate y'all. I'm a man. When I look at people in their eyes, I speak to them. I nod down if I don't know them. I nod up if I do know them. It's simple. Your officers don't do that. I run these streets. I see your officers all the time. They don't speak to me, bro. So don't say that you got solid dudes on this force that you know you got work to do, and that's fine. We understand that. But just don't say what you said. Because we men, we adults, we women who got some damn dignity, and you can't lie to us and expect us to trust you.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate that. Here, Jeff, come back. Jeff, it's over here. Over here. Thank you. There you go, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening,
I so appreciate what the brother just said. Yeah, much of this is on the community, but we can't absolve the police of their part that they play in this. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but going back to 2017, the police department failed this community. Your agency has failed this community. And I understand you stepped into a quagmire, and I don't know that you got waiters long enough to keep you clean on it. City Council has failed this community. Mr. Rogers, the city manager's office, including your predecessor, has failed this community. As a community, we also play a part in that. But you can't expect us to welcome with open arms and trust you when we've seen what's happened in our minority communities. We don't need soda zones.
Right.
We don't need Jade. We don't need SWAT coming knocking doors in. We don't need AMRATs on our streets. We've seen those too. What we do need is to feel safe. Many of these shootings are happening right practically in your backyard.
They are.
We need solutions. And we need to know that when we do call on the police, that we're not going to end up being the ones getting taken away. Because we've seen that happen too. So we need to know specifically what's going to be done. You've been in my home.
I have.
And we need to know exactly what's going to happen, how the citizens can feel safe. We don't need to be over-policed because it doesn't happen up on Park Avenue. So it shouldn't happen in our minority communities either. So we need to know what you all are going to do without, excuse me for putting it this way, passing the buck on to the community. I applaud folks like Dr. Bellamy. I applaud folks like Tanisha Hudson. I applaud folks like Ms. Cherry and Ms. Gloria. I applaud folks who are out in the community doing the work, trying to get, and the Buck Squad. I'm sorry, I certainly don't want to leave them out. And prolific, going out running the communities. This table is wobbly. The police department's only one leg of that table. As I mentioned earlier, the city council, the city manager's office, the community is a leg on that table. And if any of those gets the tip off the bottom of it, that table is wobbly. But we need solutions, and we need to know what you all are going to do, what you're willing to do, without putting our minority communities further at risk and at harm.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
So I'm just kind of touching on what I guess Yolanda's husband said, because I don't know his name, but I know. Okay, sorry, but I know Yolanda's husband. But there was one time last year I went down to the Charlottesville Police Department to talk about an incident I had witnessed. It was actually it was at a party. It was a female that had been assaulted, and the officer literally laughed at me. He laughed at me. I don't see him here, and I wouldn't even call him out if I did. But what you just said, calling them out, it like brought back that memory. And I know it's like I mean, it'd be like someone's word against someone else's word, like just walking and making. But I'm saying that the officer laughed at me. He wrote down the report. He said he would follow him up. I left him my cell phone, and I left him an email. I never ever heard back from him. And then I was out of town for a while, but the point is, like, it was very serious. So you're saying that everyone is, whatever you said, they're all on point, or we got one of y'all on every block. No, but that's like a serious incident. Hold on. And the other thing I want to talk about, during COVID, when the schools reopened, I ended up working in the Albemarle County school system full-time as a full-time sub, but I kind of became a teacher. And we really have to start viewing all these kids and these young people that are hurting themselves and hurting others as human beings. Like, they are people. I think the young man who was shot the other day, well, there's one news source said it was on Page Street, and the other one said Hardy Drive. So I don't know which story is correct.
It was on Hardy Drive and drove down the Page.
Oh, so we drove. But all you see is the news report and then a name, and I don't even think it said his age. I went into this gun violence database website and just typed like Charleston, and it had him come up and showed that date, so I was able to match it, and then it showed a face. Because on the news, the local news, you don't, I guess they put up Skeeter's face, but these other people, like, you just see a name. But having the face up there lets us see that these are like real human beings. He was 20 years old, he had a life to live. And he shouldn't just have to run down the road and get shot. But these are kids with lives to live. And the kids, I mean, the Bible says the heart of, what is it, foolishness is in the heart of a child. I can't remember the exact verse, but they're going to make mistakes, but it doesn't mean they should have to have their lives ended. And the other, so I guess it was about 3 weeks ago when I was at one of the local schools, and it was a really, really rough day with some of the kids, and I was venting my frustrations to another teacher, and she literally said, all of these kids are on their way to jail anyway. Why does it matter? And these are the kind of people that walk the streets, they're getting a paycheck to work with these kids. I have worked over at Barry-Mother Lewis Elementary. I have worked in Jacksonville. I've worked in Clark. I've gone to Broadus-Wood. I've gone to Woodbrook. So I've seen like all races, all economic backgrounds, all genders, all ages. I used to sub at CHS. I realize I'm better off with the little ones for now. But I'm saying that I don't know what the correct word is. If you say like black or brown kids or people of color, I don't want to, like, I just don't know how to like use the terminologies anymore, but I'm going to say that they are just as capable and just as intelligent as any other child in America. Anyone who looks like me, my entire family was employed at UVA at different points. I come from that background. My grandfather was involved in the integration process at UVA back in the 60s. He was a dean. He wanted education to be accessible to everyone. I'm just glad I was not raised with racist family, even though we were privileged, but they saw the reality of people's sufferings. But I'm saying like all these kids at Jacksonville and Clark, the kids up in, what is it, Southwood, is that the neighborhood? They are all just as capable of any other child. I've seen them. A boy at Buford last year, I took on a month-long sub job at Buford last year, and it was a black young man, about 12 or 13 years old, was just joking. He's like, you know, we're just stupid. I'm black and I'm not good at science. And he was like, he shouldn't make that joke about himself. What kind of environment is fostering that where he's going to make a joke about himself like that? I said, no, that's not true. So you have to, like, if you see a kid who's struggling, like, find a way to reach them. Even if you see them outside, like, anywhere. Like, they need compliments. They need love. And sometimes it only takes, like, one little kind person or shove in the right direction, or even like a little bit of tough love to get them there. But like, they're all worthy.
I agree.
And I'm gonna say, Wes Bellamy, where is he? Oh, I was gonna say, like, I wanted to apologize to him, but because I like usually don't agree with, but I loved what he said tonight, and I wanted to apologize to him for yelling at him a while back. Oh well, I'll find him.
I'm sure he's listening.
We've blocked each other on Facebook before, and I felt really bad. But I think he and Yolanda's husband had the best, and the man, the Burley man. Burley, did you go to Burley High School back in the day?
Yeah, I go to Burley.
Or something. Those were my
Thank you.
favorites tonight.
I'm going to move back over this way a little bit. We had some folks raising their hand. I'll get back there. Anybody here?
No, I thought you were one of the 12 who went to like.
And there's nobody else. He's next. Okay. Okay.
At 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, yes. I don't have a question. It's a comment, and I want to come back to a lot of really great things that people had surfaced in their comments. I agree. I think I'm not even asking a question to the police because I don't actually believe that police prevent crime. Police don't prevent crime. What prevents crime is, as the sister from City of Promise you had mentioned, like, is getting people their basic needs, a consistent source of income, physical safety, housing, mental health resources if they need it, dignified education, accessible, affordable, all that stuff. That's what prevents crime, not the police. So I'm not here to ask anything of the police, and I'm really glad to see how many people here are from the community, which is really cool, and it's really beautiful because we as a community keep us safe, not the cops. Cops don't keep us safe, we keep us safe. And so I really enjoyed like what the sister over here had said about getting to know your neighbors, and someone had mentioned, getting more involved in the community with the youth or that sort of thing. And so something that I wanted to bring up Oh, yes, and also you had mentioned like the concerns. What you had described was essentially the privatization of our public goods. You know, for decades, the U.S. has been privatizing all our public safety net. So all of our, you know, all of our public goods, they're going away, and people don't have access to that anymore, and that's for certain been affecting crime. And let me also give a caveat as to like what is typically seen as crime. But anyway, that's another thing. But yes, so you mentioned essentially the privatization of our public safety net, our social, you know, our public social goods, like what we can have and access as a community and together. And so I wanted to make a comment to the chief, something that you had said earlier has really bothered me, that I believe, I don't think you meant it, but it felt really disingenuous to answer to the executive director of the City of Promise when she asked you about what you're going to do in terms of speaking to politicians. She didn't ask you to be a politician. She didn't want you to be a politician. So that answer felt really disingenuous to me. What she was asking for, at least from what I heard you say, was, I want you to kind of put aside your badge and like advocate for us as a community and us as a city, to people who do hold the levers of the money, to put the money into the hands of our community. And because that's what addresses crime. I personally don't care if you have 75% vacancy, because we're out here like struggling with our basic needs and our community's basic needs. So what we're asking of you, and I think asking myself and asking all of us and together in our community, is like, can we please advocate to politicians who hold the levers of money to resource our public goods, bring back public social safety programs, things that actually address violence and harm in the communities, not more policing, not more of the same people who are terrorizing folks in the street. Because once again, cops don't keep us safe. We keep us safe as a community, strengthening our community ties, our community programs. That's what's going to keep us safe, us as individuals, is connecting with each other and creating those types of programs. So I really wanted to point that out to you, Chief, that felt really disingenuous to me. And I want you to, just wanted to bring that back to the top of more funding for us as a community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think Mr. Fogel was no. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'm sorry. What's that?
Good evening, everyone.
What time is
I
it?
want to remind you that we've got about 20 minutes left in tonight's forum. Glad everybody's here, and we want to make sure each and every one of you have a chance to speak before we have closing remarks from the chiefs, from the chaplain. So please, if you've already spoken, please share the mic with those who have not had a chance to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
I will keep this under 60 seconds. First, thank you for the time to connect with the community. I was not, you were not my first pick. I wanted Officer Durrett in the corner, but I think you have undoubtedly risen to the occasion, and I'm grateful for your transparency, your communication, and how you're trying to connect with the community. Two-part question. First part is this: did you anticipate this job being this difficult when you took it? And then the second part of the question is, you've identified 3 policing districts. 2 of them are specific, 10th and Page, the UVA corner. How will you work with Tim Longo and the UVA police on the UVA corner? Because that seems like it's UPD's jurisdiction. Then I guess the third part of the question is, what is the 3rd district? How it's been identified by the media is a little further than 10th and Page. If I could get a geographical specific district for the 3rd one. So to summarize, and then I'm done talking, did you anticipate the job being this difficult? The second part of the question is, how will you work with Chief Longo in policing the UVA corner? And then the third part of the question is, what is the 3rd district specifically by geography? That's it, Chief. Thank you.
I'm going to try to remember these three,
Thank you.
but
I can help.
hopefully,
I can help you.
I know you will.
Yeah.
I know you
Happy to
will.
help.
The first question, did I expect it to be this difficult? So, as a chief, you want to work in a community that cares about its community. You want a community that wants to be involved in solutions. Because I know, just like many of you said here tonight, we're not going to solve all the problems. We're just one piece of this. This here, yeah, I knew it was going to be a tough job. I knew that. But I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Because look at this. So yes, I guess, but that's okay. All right. I'll go to the zones. We will post the heat map up by tomorrow, so you can see them. Okay. I don't want to give you bad information. And yes, I think I probably talk to Tim Longo every other day. We talk regularly, communicate regularly, and Chief Reeves as well. And because, like I said, these issues transcend all 3 jurisdictions.
It just
So.
seems like and I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah.
It just seems like the university corner is an anomaly for this community, and the resources that are limited, a third of the department is empty, should not be allocated to a jurisdiction or a geographical territory that already has its own police department.
Understood.
It seems like it should go elsewhere.
Understood.
It seems like we're appeasing, and I went to UVA, but it seems like we're appeasing money and parents and not people that live in the community.
Yeah. Good point. And I will put the heat maps up, but we work very well together, so I appreciate that. Well, there was a third question.
The third question was, you're going to put the heat map up tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it.
You're going to offer more clarity on Chief Longo in the corner here.
Okay, perfect. And I don't know about how that's Lee Longo on the corner. Yeah, so if you think of it, it's all very close, right? The corner's right here. If something happens on this corner, we'll probably hear it from here, right? So this is all part of that area. So when you talk about, I don't get into all the nuance of hotspot policing. It's really called micro hotspots, right? Where officers go into the area and they're only there for like 15, 20 minutes, go to a different area, go back. But anyway, that's kind of at the very micro level. So I hope that answers your question, that our officers aren't there on the corner all the time. I don't have the officers to be there the whole time, but we work hand in hand with UVA police and the Albemarle County Police.
But Chief, what's problematic is we don't seem to get the same response in our communities when something happens as UVA gets when something goes on there.
Okay.
And that's what's really problematic.
But we need to change that. We need to change it. If you're not getting the same service, I need to know about it. You have my cell number, and you know where I live.
And it's
Come knock on my door. I know you will. So I need to know that.
Mr. Alexander will put up a poster with all that information. but we just want the same level of response and same level of interest in our communities that UVA seems to get when something goes on over there.
It's fair enough. That's fair. That's fair. So, Mr. Fogel, last question. I'm leaving it to you, okay? And then we do closing.
You may not like it.
Well, that's okay.
I know. You like it when you don't like it. I want to talk briefly about the historical significance that the police have had on this community. Now, I've been following statistics now for about 12 years. In those 12 years, consistently, including this year, 55% of the people being arrested are black. According to a study commissioned by the city, black people are more likely to receive more serious charges than comparable white people. Black people are more likely to receive more serious charges than comparably situated white people. And so we had a situation, according to that scientific study, that black people were going to prison just because they were black people. Now, the police department has not been escaped from the problem of mass incarceration in this country. And how many people in this community, whether they're children, parents, or fathers or grandfathers, have been in prison and shouldn't have been in prison? That has a significant impact on economics, on culture, and everything else. My question is, and I have been discussing this issue about 55% of the people being arrested. And by the way, when we were looking at stop and frisk statistics, upwards of 75% of the people being stopped were black. And I've talked about it for 10 years, and some of the politicians who I've talked to are in this room. Nobody was interested in even talking about it, no less doing anything about it. To me, there's a prima facie case of racist policing from those statistics. And the question is, are you aware of it? And are you going to do anything about it? And what is it you're going to do?
So if our officers are treating people disparately and racially profiling, doing those things that you're saying, they need to be held to account.
I'm saying the statistics raise the issue
Okay.
of whether or not this is a racist police department. You can explain those statistics that doesn't lead to racism, fine.
I would love to sit down and go over it with you, Mr. Fogel, at a later time.
Well, I
Would love
offered
to.
a solution to the problem to your deputy. He was not
Okay.
interested.
Well, let's sit down and talk. All right?
Well, do you have an answer that people here can hear?
I don't have the data that you have right now. I don't know what you're talking
Don't know
about.
that's those statistics?
No,
You came
I
here
don't.
without knowing the percentage of black people being arrested in this country?
All right.
Did you really?
Thank you, Mr. Vogel. I appreciate it. All right, we're gonna close real quick. We're at time.
You can find that in the DNC study.
Yes, thank you. All right, I have one last question. Here you go, sir.
What is a gun for? How many uses does a gun have?
Not many. Well, it depends who you are.
How many guns? What does a gun use for? Gun only have one purpose. That's to kill.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. What time we got? We're good? What's that? Yeah, I'm going to give closing. All right, so first I'm going to give, we're coming up to 8 o'clock. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Those who challenged me, thank you. Those who raised difficult issues, thank you. These conversations are important. Your police department needs to hear this. I need to hear this. So thank you for being here. Thank you to the elders that are here. Thank you very much. Your perspective matters, and I appreciate it. With that, I want to just say thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. My email is chief@charlottesville.gov. If there is a question that you didn't get a chance to ask, feel free to send it, and we'll try to get you an answer. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Before anybody...
Oh, I apologize.
Before anybody leaves, Chief forgot the chaplain.
Sorry, hold up.
So, again, from Dairy Market and Alternative Church, we do really appreciate you guys coming and doing this community event with us. We hope to do more of these community events together. If there are ones that you'd like to see, please reach out to us. We're always open to new ideas. I know these lovely women were looking for advocates and would like more information about anybody who would like to be one. We are going to turn it over to the chaplain. I do think he wants to do a little just reset for the community. So we're going to let him do that. And then again, if you need anything else, please make sure that you reach out to us.
Thank you. Let's take a moment to pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for everyone who came out tonight. I ask your blessing on each and every one of the souls in this room. As soon as you created Adam, you said it is not good for man to be alone. We are created for relationship. We are created to be in community with each other. And so, Lord, by your Holy Spirit, I ask you to give this community wisdom. I ask for supernatural peace, the shalom of this city to be upheld. For all of us to strive to see that each child born in the image and likeness of God, as the Word of God says, fearfully and wonderfully made, would grow to adulthood, to live to their fullest potential, to see happiness and joy fill our streets, to see the fruit of the Spirit in abundance, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control. Against these things there is no law. And Lord, we acknowledge that the violence played out in the street is a physical symptom of a spiritual reality. The Lord, only you can change the hearts. And so we call upon you to change hearts. Whether it's to motivate someone to step forward, to sacrifice their time for their fellows in the community, or for that changed heart to say, you know what, I'm going to go turn this gun in. Whatever it takes, Lord, we have to trust in each other. We have to presume that we each bring our best to the table. And so, Lord, empower us to do that. That this might be a community marked by peace and joy and hope, and not by bloodshed. I ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I apologize.
It's okay, man.
Sir? Oh, hey, how are you, sir? Nice to meet you, sir.
So, Eddie's friend.
Oh, okay.
Just wanted to offer that I've got a friend that does short videos to do recruitment and for training for free. Yeah, absolutely. And also, she's thinking about the old sport program. To get the young kids in and once I have somebody hopefully next week, Dr. Tito, he does it all the time. Then I'll be glad to help you out. And thanks, man.
We'll be brief on it because a lot of good stuff came out. A lot of good stuff.